Everyone thinks that he is a fake underground doctor without a license, but he is the best healer in the world. Zenas is a young, talented healer in the Kingdom of Herseth, a nation whose history was heavily shaped by healers. The Royal Hospital of Herseth is famous throughout the world for its talented healers who make the world a better place. But Zenas is not like the other healers who are properly trained and have a license. He is a self-trained healer operating in the slums without a license. He lives in a big rundown house along with his elf servant Lily and heals anyone who can pay his fee without any questions. He has another housemate, a mill ghost named Carmela, who just floats around the house doing nothing. On one usual day, after treating all the patients who visit him, Zenas goes on a house visit for a patient who can pay him more, and Lily starts cooking dinner. Soon after he leaves, a whole multi-seas lineup of his simps come to the clinic, hoping to spend some time with him. They include the lizard girl Zofia, the dumb furry Linga, and the dark elf muscle mommy LV. The girls begin competing over the right to see Zenas first, and talk how they want him to examine their bodies thoroughly. But Lily angrily interrupts them because she doesn't like anyone thirsting after him. After she is done calming the three girls, Lily invites them to stay over for dinner, saying that they are going to eat together once Zenas returns. However, once she steps out of the room to do laundry, the furry and the muscle mommy can't hold back their urge to taste the delicious stew before dinner. Just one sip of the dish makes them crave for more, and even the lizard girl can't hold back for very long. The three of them finish the stew in record time, but then they realize that they are in serious trouble now. As they wonder how are they going to explain it, Lily returns inside, and she is horrified when she learns that these dumb ate their entire dinner. They start blaming each other for finishing the food. But then Carmela arrives there furious because she was really excited about dinner tonight. The three girls are dead scared of her, and they volunteer to help Lily in cooking a second batch. Lily sadly informs them that they don't have any more ingredients, so they decide to bring the best quality ingredients they can find for her. While the girls are busy worrying about dinner, Zenas returns home after finishing his house visit. On the way, he passes by a beast girl named Till holding her stomach tightly to suppress the unbearable pain she is feeling. He stops to examine her symptoms, but just then the beast girl's master arrives there, asking her where the hell she has been. Till tells him that she went to a doctor for her stomach ache, but since she had no money, they didn't even examine her. The arrogant bastard just sighs as he grabs her by the hair, asking if she thinks that a slave like her can get a day off just by acting that she has a stomach ache. He drags her away to do her job, and Zenas watches this drama unfold without doing anything because it is none of his business. Meanwhile, the takes Till to the local cemetery and throws her on top of a grave, releasing a ghost that enters her body without anyone noticing. The man starts telling her to do the only thing she is good at, which is finding valuables hidden inside the graves. But when she doesn't answer, he sends her rolling with a kick. She keeps holding her stomach tightly, and as her master tells her to get to work, the ghost starts taking control of her. The jerk doesn't notice it and starts heading back, telling Till that she will not get any dinner if she returns empty-handed. However, she is fully possessed by the ghost now and suddenly attacks him, slashing his guts open with her claws. The jerk realizes that he is screwed because Till is no longer obeying him, and he runs away as fast as he can with his bleeding wound. He runs into Zenas on the way and begs him to save him from his berserk slave. But Zenas replies that he has no time for arrogant jerks like him. Just then, Till arrives there and Zenas can see the dark energy surrounding her. He asks the jerk where the two of them are coming from, and he replies that they were doing some farming. Zenas doesn't believe it, but the jerk doesn't care. Suddenly, Till lunges at the bastard again, and Zenas quickly saves him before tossing him to the side. The beast girl marks him as her next target and throws stones at him with full strength. Zenas easily dodges all the stones that could have left holes in his body, and the jerk thinks that he can defeat Till. However, Zenas replies that he is a healer, and killing people is usually frowned upon in his line of work. Just then, Till eats a huge boulder towards them, and Zenas shatters it with a magic-covered fist. Till then dashes towards him with great speed, and he dodges a few attacks before letting her strike his magic barrier that sends her flying into a building. She somehow crawls out the rubble despite serious injuries. But because of that, the ghost starts losing its control over her. Zenas is finally sure about what's bothering her, but as he tries to help her, Till bites his arm. Zenas doesn't care about that, and he immediately uses his healing magic on her, treating her wounds and expelling the ghost possessing her. He purifies the ghost with his powers too, and then declares that he has done enough work for today. The rich bastard sees all this, and now he finally believes that Zenas is a skilled healer. He asks him to save him, but Zenas replies that he has already met his target for today. The man complains that he is dying and demands him to heal him right away, and Zenas tells him that it will cost him extra. The man throws his purse in front of him to cover for the expenses, but Zenas tells him that it is not enough. The man gets pissed at this and threatens to complain to the medical board about charging too much. But Zenas tells him to go ahead because he doesn't have a license, and the medical board can kiss his. He then suddenly gets an idea and says that he will take the beast girl as the rest of his payment. The rich bastard immediately agrees to the deal, and Zenus doesn't waste any time in treating him. After that, he stays with the unconscious beast girl till she wakes up and her stomach pain flares up again. She asks Zenus who is he, and he shows her the documents saying that he is her new master. He then immediately gets down to business and tells Till to strip because he needs to check something. She freaks out thinking that her new master is a pervert, but since she is a slave, she has no choice. Till removes her shirt and Zenus sees a gallstone that is causing all her pain. He begins saying some medical mumbo-jumbo like he is Dr. House, and then uses his magic to pull the gallstone out of her body. Till immediately feels better and asks Zenus how he did that, and he replies that he used magic to cut her open, pull the stone out, and then patch her back just within a second. Till can't believe that this is even possible, but Zenus likes to be humble at times and says that any healer could have done that. Till can only thank him for curing her, but Zenus says that he doesn't want her thanks. Instead, he wants her to pay back the amount she cost him. Till is willing to do anything for him, starting with a Guck Glock 3000, but Zenus is no beta simp, and he tells her to find a special herb for him. Till is disappointed, but she still finds the special herb for him, and Zenus tells her that she has fully repaid her price. Now, she doesn't understand if he is joking or telling the truth, so Zenus tells her that he would not have found these herbs without her. So, she really has paid him back for buying her, and now she is free to go wherever she wants. Till can't believe this, but Zenus tears the slave contract, telling her that she owns her life now. She gets emotional, thanks him for helping her, and Zenus asks her to come to his clinic if she ever needs a healer, but also warns her that his fee is a bit high. With that, he returns home just in time for his three simps to return with the ingredients for their dinner. Zenus remembers the time when he was the member of the revered Golden Phoenix, which became one of the strongest adventure parties in the entire kingdom. One day, the leader of the party named Eston tells Zenus that they don't want a poor slum-dwelling commoner in their party anymore, and gives him a gold coin as severance pay. On claims that Zenus is good for nothing anyways, and they are much better off without him. Zenus is confused because he is a very strong healer who has been helping the party ever since it was formed. But Eston laughs at this, claiming that he is a poor self-taught idiot who never got an official healer's license, which makes him completely useless. Zenus looks at him and claims that he thought that they were friends. But Eston laughs at his face alongside his friends, mocking Zenus, claiming that he was just a meat shield for them and nothing more. On tells him that now that they are the strongest party in the kingdom, they are basically celebrities, and it's not a good look to have a common slum dweller in a party filled with aristocratic nobles. On claims that the gold coin should be more than enough for him to go anywhere, and that he should never open his mouth about being in their party. Zenus realizes that this is basically money to keep him quiet, so he gets up and leaves the room. While thinking about what he will do with his life now, while walking aimlessly, he suddenly hears the sound of someone struggling and goes over to investigate. It turns out to be a man and a woman trying to subdue an elf slave so that they can sell her off to an ugly noble. But the slave girl tries to fight back and run away, forcing the man to shoot an arrow in her leg. He walks up and grabs her by the collar, but the elf is fiery and bites his attacker's hands, making him even more pissed. The man then grabs his dagger and stabs her in the stomach, annoying the woman, who calls him a number skull for ruining their merchandise. Zenus watches them argue over the body of the slave girl in a puddle of blood, and he decides to quickly intervene. He offers them the gold coin in return for the slave girl, and the woman immediately accepts since the girl is as good as dead already. While Zenus quickly starts examining her wound, the slave girl thinks that she is already dead, but Zenus is an incredible healer and easily heals her to full health. The slave girl is utterly surprised since she didn't even feel a thing and thanks Zenus for his help. She introduces herself as Lily and immediately gets worried about the gold coin that Zenus paid for her. Zenus realizes this and tells her not to worry about that at all, as it wasn't a big deal. In reality, he wasn't too keen on holding on to the pity money from a jerk like a Stan anyways. Lily asks whether Zenus is a world-famous healer, but he replies that he is a nobody who doesn't even have a healing license. He then asks where does she live, but she replies that she is hungry and homeless. Zenus decides to take her in and takes her to a small tavern where he gets her some better clothing and some warm food. Lily eats hungrily, asking whether Zenus is not going to eat anything, to which he replies that he is not hungry, when in fact he doesn't have any more money to buy food. Just when he was thinking about how to look for a job, a lizard man enters the tavern asking for some water. He sits down on a chair with blood dripping from his arm from what seems like a bullet hole. Zenus walks up to him and examines his wound, claiming that there is nothing to worry about as it is basically a scratch. The lizard man thinks that Zenus is, but without a second word, Zenus raises his arms and chants the healing spell, which completely heals the lizard man's wound immediately. The lizard boy is shocked, but happy at the same time, and immediately hands Zenus some money before leaving the tavern. Zenus is a little confused because this is the first time he has been paid for healing someone. Lily claims that it seems pretty normal for her, as healers charge a fee to heal someone. Zenus decides that he is going to live by this concept from now on, and start his own clinic. One problem with that is that since he is from the slums, getting a license for a legal operation would be next to impossible. So, he would probably have to be an underground healer who works illegally. Lily seems pretty happy with this decision and promises to help him all her life. Zenas doesn't really want to drag such a young girl in an illegal operation, but since he can't leave Lily like this, he decides to let her be with him for now. He takes her to an abandoned part of the town where most of the houses are destroyed and not a soul can be seen walking around. Lily asks why they are in such a bad place, and Zenas replies that they need to stay a little far away from the town center since they need to stay under the radar. He claims that he is looking for an intact house to call his home. And finally, he spots one of the houses that isn't too bad. He starts inspecting the entire house, even though it seems to be in a pretty bad condition. Zenas is simply happy to have a roof above his house since for most of his life, Lily uses her light magic to illuminate the area, and Zenas starts checking everything out when suddenly they run into a wraith who is none other than Carmela herself. Lily hides behind Zenos thinking that this is the end since wraiths are the strongest undead monsters who are said to have the touch of death. Carmela smiles at seeing fresh meat being walking into her palace and decides to attack them, but Zenas calmly casts his healing magic, which causes her arms to disappear. She is shocked to see a human fight back, while Lily looks at him surprised, asking how the hell is he fighting a wraith. Zenas looks confused and claims that he doesn't see what the big deal is since he has already fought against hundreds of them. He would send Zenas in the deepest dungeons where he was forced to deal with wraiths. But Zenas soon realized that they are actually weak to his healing magic. Back in the present, Zenas apologizes to Carmela, but claims that he wants to stay here and would try not to disturb her. The wraith decides to attack again, but Zenas pushes her back easily. Carmela is annoyed since she is the queen of wraiths and no human ever has dared challenge her before. She points her hands up and calls in a small army of wraiths to deal with Zenas, but the underground healer is too strong for them and casts High Heal, which immediately kills all the lower level wraiths, leaving Carmela alone. Zenas again apologizes for barging in like this and asks whether he could at least get a single room to run his clinic. Carmela, realizing that this human is something different, agrees to share the space, but claims that the second floor is her private quarters before disappearing. A couple of days pass by after that, but the room soon starts looking more like a clinic as they make some final adjustments. Lily asks whether they should advertise, but Zeno claims that they don't need to do anything. Just then, the door opens and the lizard man enters again. He introduces himself as Jean and tells Zenas that this time he brought his sister with him. The sister looks at Zenas, asking whether he can deal with her arm wound. Zenas realizes that she must have been shot by a magic poison bullet, which has infected her arm completely. He claims that the arm would need to be amputated as it is already dead. The woman looks at him and asks how much would she have to pay, and Zenas quotes $100,000. Jean is outraged by this, since this is way above the market rate for a simple amputation. But the woman calms him down, claiming that Zenas is smart and knows that she is Zofia, the leader of the lizard clan. Zenas actually didn't know that, but he has heard the name before as there are major clan leaders in the slums. One of them being Zofia, who steals from the rich and distributes to the poor. Zofia asks him to justify such a high price, and Zenas replies dryly that regenerating a new arm takes a lot of energy. This leaves her stunned as she asks, what the hell does he mean by regenerating? He looks confused and claims that he will chop her arm off. Zofia is shocked but tells him that if he can do that, soon, he lays her down at the table and uses an ethereal scalpel to amputate her arm before regenerating a brand new one. Zenas is surprised to know that healers don't normally do stuff like this, while Zofia thanks him for his help, claiming that she will probably be sending more people his way to get healed. A couple days pass by when one night after tending to the patients, Zenas sits down for some tea with Carmela and Lily when Lily asks, why are the lizard people always injured when they come to him for help? Zenas claims that there are 3 factions in the underground slums who are constantly at war, one being the lizard people, one being the orcs, and the last one being the furries. Not for taking them. Carmela decides to leave him alone and moves back up, while Linga immediately drops to the floor, asking for forgiveness as a man who can deal with a wraith can delete all the furries at once. Zenas tells them not to worry about that as he realizes that he has probably got another stream of customers for his clinic. His clinic has been booming for a while now as he constantly gets patients from the lizard as well as the furry faction. Now one of the orcs has also arrived and he tells Zenas that their leader, the great Lady Lo, is sick and he wants him to look at her. Zenas tells him to bring the lady to the clinic, but the orc refuses, claiming that Lady Lo can't even move right now, and the furries and the lizard men are constantly around bringing gifts and building defending structures. Lady Lo can't take the risk of coming to a place surrounded by so many enemies. Zenith breathes an exhausted sigh and decides to follow the orc to their den. He walks through dark caves before arriving at an opening where he finds a beautiful muscle mommy sitting on a throne surrounded by a bunch of orcs. He introduces herself, but Lo claims that she already knows who he is, since both the lizard people and the furries can't stop raving about how much of a Sigma the new underground healer is. He asks what her problem is, and she instead challenges him to find the problem himself. Zenith calmly walks up to her and scans her entire body for any external injury but finds none. After that, he decides to check her for any internal injuries and soon realizes that there is a lump inside her stomach, which is not a baby, but a mom one. He looks at her and asks about it when she tells him that it's an explosive stone that she ended up swallowing. Zenith asks whether someone tried to poison her, but she claims that it's nothing like that and she just accidentally swallowed it while eating rice balls. Zenith turns around and tells her to give it some time as she will soon herself, but Lo stops him, claiming that she accidentally ended up chewing it a bit, which is making the stone very volatile, and if she moves even a little, it might explode. The orcs immediately surround her, claiming that they will die with her but not leave her side. Zenith doesn't really care for this melodrama and wants to leave, but Lo claims that she has a huge amount of treasure hidden inside one of the chests and she wants him to have it. He is a little confused by this and thinks that she is joking, but Lo immediately throws him a golden key telling him that he can open the treasure with that. Zenith asks why is she doing that, and Lo claims that she has heard that Zenith always asks for a fair price, but for children he doesn't take a single penny. Zeno sighs and decides to finally deal with the issue as he turns back and walks up to her, taking out his magical scalpel and slices her stomach open. The orcs are horrified and try to attack him, but before they could even surround him, he takes out the mana stone and heals her stomach back up. She is shocked by this as she has never seen this happen before, but immediately warns Zenith that she should throw it away before it explodes. Zenith, however, doesn't even flinch and grabs the stone in between his fists when it explodes violently. After the dust settles, Lo is utterly bamboozled to see that there isn't even a scratch on Zenith, who dusts himself off before throwing the key back at Lo and leaving. Lo stops him and asks why did he heal her when he could have simply had all the money for himself. But Zenith claims that he takes a fair price and what she was giving him was too much for a simple operation. After that day, the leaders of all the three factions start regularly visiting him, even when they had no reason to. Zenith just chalks it up to them being completely jobless. But Lily suspects them of liking Zenith, which is confirmed by Carmela, who claims that all three of the leaders are totally lovesick for him and will soon wage war over each other for him. Zenith ignores it, claiming that he is just an unremarkable healer and nothing else. But Carmela's word turn out to be true when one day all three of the faction leaders visit him one by one, bringing gifts and food while claiming that they are going to wage a war the next day. The next morning, all three of the factions meet at the battlefield with their men chatting with each other as they get ready to finally decide who is the undisputed king of the underworld. Before the fight could start though, Zenith and Lily arrive in the stadium. But instead of stopping the fight, the underground doctor tells them to get it all out of their system once and for all. With that affirmation, Zofia tries to draw first blood by taking out her daggers and attacking Linga, but the furry is fast and manages to dodge the attack. The orc decides to join in the action and jumps on Zofia, but she dodges the attack and moves back. This is when all hell breaks loose as all the factions start slashing and punching each other in mortal combat, while the leaders of each faction engage deadly blows with each other with the intention to kill. Lily seems very disturbed by all this, but soon things take a weird turn as they keep fighting the entire day. But for some reason, nobody dies or gives up, and all their injury keep healing magically. Finally, the leaders realize that Zenith is healing all of them at once, and he replies that he doesn't care how long they keep fighting, but they are his patients, so he will keep healing them. At this point, the leaders start laughing as they realize how stupid actually is. They decide to form a truce and rule the underworld together in peace. Lily seems really happy with this, while Zenith claims that he is going to charge them a lot of money as healing so many people at once is a very hard job. A couple days pass by when Zofia and her brother visit Zenith's clinic once again to get healed. Both Linga and Lo are also there just chilling while Zenith asks Zofia how did she get hurt this time. Zofia claims that she is a thief who selects really rich nobles and steals from them before distributing the wealth amongst the poor locals in the slums. And yesterday, while she was doing that, she ended up having a scrap with the royal guards and got injured. Her brother claims that his case was different as a madwoman named the Iron Rose caught him in the open and started blasting at him like a true American. Carmela smiles and tells Zenith that she feels like this Iron Rose might pay him a visit soon since he has managed to unite the three wearing factions for the first time in years, and the nobles might find that a threat. Zenith claims that he doesn't want to deal with any of that and sits down to eat the feast that Lily has prepared for all of them. Carmela's words turn out to be true as the woman known as the Iron Rose has already entered the slums and is shocked to see peace as the furries play cards with the lizard people while the orcs and the furries joke and laugh. She spots one of the lizard people sitting quietly and drinking some beer. So she approaches him claiming that it's been a while since she has last visited the slums and things have seemed to change a lot. The lizard man looks at her and claims that now that they all know each other, they have realized that they are all the same, so there is no reason to fight. The woman asks him who the mediator was that stopped the war, but the the lizard man claims that the mediator likes keeping a low profile so he wouldn't say the name. At this, the mad woman grabs his collar and shoves his gun in his stomach, threatening to shoot him, but he still refuses to give Zenas up and manages to shout for help. Thankfully, Zofia and her brother were walking nearby, which forces the woman to run away, but she notices that Zofia's hand wounds seem to have healed already. She walks through the city and ends up stumbling upon Zeno's clinic late at night. She enters the room asking him for directions to reach the city, but the moment he tries to help, she immediately gets her gun out and shoots a smoke grenade right at him. While Lily watches in horror, wondering what will happen now, the woman says that she had been investigating a kidnapper targeting elves for some time, and she finally found him today. Lily tries to tell her that Zenas is not a kidnapper, but the refuses to hear her out, saying that adopting kids from other species is illegal without going through proper channels. Lily grows frantic at this and tells her that Zenas saved her, and the woman realizes that she jumped to conclusions. She assures Lily that she just shot a sleeping gas bullet at him, and he won't die. But she is dumbfounded when Zenas comes out of the gas cloud perfectly fine. The woman apologizes to him for shooting him without warning, but then asks how can he be fine. Zenas replies that he just blocked her attack with normal defensive magic, and she finds that hard to believe. She claims that no one can stop her magic bullets, but it would be a different case if Zenas was a genius magician who had devoted his entire life to studying defensive magic. Zenas tells her that he is nothing like that, but the woman refuses to believe him, saying that he might want to keep a low profile, but he cannot betray Krishna, the vice commander of the Royal Knights. Both Zenas and Lily are concerned on learning the woman's true identity, and she asks them to cooperate with her on her investigation mission. Zenas immediately sends a signal to the three leaders to stay away from his house, hoping that they are smart enough to follow it. He then sits down to have a chat with Krishna, who tells him that it is the duty of all citizens to cooperate with royal knights, and she wants his help in arresting the person who ended the decades-long hostility between the three demi-human species. Zenas freaks out on realizing that the crazy woman is here to arrest him, but Krishna continues her rant, saying that anyone who can control the three demi-human tribes must be really strong, and she cannot let someone like that roam free because they can become a threat to the order of the city. She explains that she tried to shake the slum dwellers about his identity, and that makes her even certain that the man behind the shadows is an evil mastermind who excels at controlling people. Zenas nervously tries convincing her that the person she is looking for might just want to keep a low profile, but Kish refuses to believe him and says that a person who can unite the three tribes can soon become a threat to the entire country. Zenas then suggests that since it is already too late at night, she should return home. He offers to show her the way to the city, but as she is getting ready to leave, Kish spots an empty bed in a corner. Zenas tells her that he was just about to throw that bed away because it is not used anymore, and she immediately tells him that she is going to use it from now on. Zenas is confused, so Kish tells him that she needs to have a base of operations near the slums so that she can find her target, and that is why she is going to stay here for the time being. And Carmela comes down to tease him about yet another dangerous woman who barged into his life. Kish uses her authority to force Zenas to let her stay at his place, but this makes Lily quite jealous. To show Krish that she is the #1 girl of Zenas, Lily climbs on his lap and makes him pat her hair. Seeing this, Carmela comes down in her invisible form again and teases Zenas by whispering in his ear, which freaks him out. After that, Lily keeps trying to show off how close she is to Zenas, but unfortunately, Kish is too busy blowing on her tea to pay her any mind. Lily ultimately falls asleep soon, and after tucking her in bed, Zenas returns to talk with Kish. She asks him about the details of the incident where he rescued Lily from the kidnappers, but he doesn't remember much about it. Kish thinks about that for some time and then comes to her main mission of finding the mediator. She still believes that Zenas is a genius mage who has mastered defensive magic, and she wants to know if there was someone like him who devoted his life to healing magic. Would he be able to regenerate arms? Zenas asks her if that is not normal for decent healers, but Kish doesn't hear him over the sound of her own voice. She says that only a saint of very high-level healers can regenerate lost limbs, and Zenas asks her what does it matter. She tells him that she severely injured Zofia's arm in a fight earlier, but when she came to the slums yesterday, her arm was completely fine. Kish says that if it is the work of a high-level healer living in the slums, he should have considerable authority here, and he might be the mediator she is looking for. And Kish tells him that her mother, a kind woman who came to the slums to feed the poor every day, was killed in the slums by someone who tried to steal her wedding ring. She swore that she would become a hero who would bring justice to such criminals who live in the slums, and worked hard to become the youngest vice commander of the Knights. The next day, Krish leaves to investigate the slums again, telling Zenas that she will be back by night. And in the meantime, Zofia pays him a visit. As he is treating her, Zenas keeps thinking about Kish's story, but Carmela tells him that it is nothing unusual and he shouldn't be so bothered by it. Just as Zenas finishes healing Zofia, but the Royal Knights haven't even tried to investigate him despite things being so clear. Kish refuses to believe her, but Zofia calls her sense of justice fake and says that the mediator is a much better person than her, who doesn't care about hierarchy or politics and just saves the people who need his help. Kish gets furious furious and decides to shoot her. But Zenith stands in between them, telling the knight that he will not allow her to shoot his patient. Kish asks him what the hell is he talking about, and Zenith decides to come clean with her. He tells her that he is the healer and the mediator she is searching for, but she doesn't believe him. She claims that he is an expert in defensive magic, and he can't have mastered healing magic at the same time. So he is just lying to her. However, now she is sure that even he is on the side of the demi-humans and the mediator. So she decides to end all connections with him. She tells him that she will find another place to stay and work in the slums because she cannot let her image of a perfect knight be tainted by staying with him. She leaves the clinic with that and goes in the opposite direction of the slums. Zenith thinks that she got lost on a one-way street, but instead Kish goes straight to the house of the noble named Calendarer, whom Zofia accused of being the leader of the kidnapping ring. Kish tells Calendarer that recently crime has been increasing in this region, and she is here to do a surprise check on his mansion's security. Calendarer gladly allows her to check his home security, and Kish finds nothing unusual, which makes her think that Zofia was just talking out of her earlier. However, just as she is about to go back, Kish realizes something strange about the distribution of the security guards. She figures out that there are too many guards at Calendarer's place, and most of them are stationed near the rear gate. She decides to investigate it further, finds an underground prison full of kidnapping victims. She tells the children not to worry because she is here to save them, but then someone shoots her in the back. Kish turns around to see Calendarer, who shot her using her own guns that were confiscated before she entered his mansion. He shoots her again, destroying her arm, and then laughs at her, saying that the famous Iron Rose has been reduced to a helpless in front of him. Kish realizes that she might not be able to save anyone now, but luckily, Zofia leads Zenith to the place just in time. Calendarer doesn't waste any time and shoots at him, but Zenith blocks everything easily. This freaks the fat bastard out, and he trips on thin air while trying to draw the second gun. Zenith picks it up and points it at him, and Calendarer begs for mercy, telling Zenith that he should be grateful that a noble is apologizing to him. Zenith just sighs and shoots the unrecyclable piece of trash, not killing him, but knocking him out for a long time. He then turns to Kish, who has accepted that death is coming for her. She asks Zenith to tell the royal knights what happened here, but he asks her to shut up because he needs to concentrate to grow back her arm. Once she is fully healed, Kish finally understands that Zenith is a healer and the mediator she was looking for. She begins considering him a true hero and says that she could never do anything to match up to him. However, Zenith tells her that she is the hero to the kids here because she was the first one to take action to save them. Krish is moved to tears on hearing this, and soon she calls the soldiers to help her rescue the kids. Zenith tells Zofia that they should head back before someone approaches them, but Krish runs after them, immediately asking Zenith why he saved her. He coldly tells her that she hasn't paid the rent for staying over at his place for one night, and he is going to send her the invoice for that along with today's healing bills. A few days later, Zenith goes grocery shopping with Lily, but as he passes through some familiar streets, the memories of his childhood return to him. He used to be a lonely orphan in the slums until one day an adventurer named Eston came there looking to hire him. He didn't even care what Zenith could do because he just wanted someone to run errands for him and act as his slave. Zenith told Eston that he knew some healing magic, but he just laughed at that because there was no way a poor orphan from the slums could afford that type of education. Nevertheless, he accepted Zenith into his party, and they started doing adventurous stuff together. When Eston fought monsters, Zenith stayed behind him and healed his injuries so quickly that Eston felt like he was untouchable. He felt it was all because of his own skills, and Zenith was just standing behind him uselessly. So he fired him. In the present, On leads his party Golden Phoenix into a den of monsters because a powerful noble has commissioned them to get some monster fur. Everyone is quite chill, and a couple guys are even hungover because they are being treated like celebrities no matter where they go. They find the flame foxes as soon as they enter the cave, and Eston orders one guy to cast a defensive spell on him before he charges ahead at the monsters carelessly. The monster bites his hand, leaving it with severe burns, and Eston freaks out because he is not used to pain. In the meantime, other members of his party get attacked by the foxes, and Eston feels like he is surrounded by incompetent fools. He turns to the guy in charge of defensive magic who can't focus his mana properly because of his hangover. Eston orders everyone to retreat, and once they exit the cave, they start blaming each other for the failure. The defense guy suggests that maybe Zenith was using healing magic on them all this time. Aston refuses to believe that because he never noticed it, but he decides to hire another healer who has the proper qualifications. A couple weeks later, On and his party return to the cave with a healer named Human. Unfortunately, the monsters are ready for him this time, and they immediately launch a surprise attack on his party. On blocks the monsters' attacks, but the wizard of his party gets hit by a fireball that burns through the defensive magic and injures him. Yum immediately starts healing him, but she realizes that he needs to be admitted to a hospital. Meanwhile, On struggles to hit the monsters and feels exhausted quickly, and it doesn't make sense to him at all. Human tells him that they need to retreat because the wizard is going to die if they waste any more time, and Eston reluctantly gives the order. Once they are outside the cave, he lashes out at the defense guy for not doing his job properly, but Human tells him that it is not his fault. Aston focuses his attention on her and tells her to immediately heal the wizards so that they can fight again. But Human asks if he is. She says that only the Saint and a few top-level healers can heal such injuries instantly, and that makes On wonder if Zenith was actually healing them from such serious serious damage all the time. Soon he returns to the city where the noble's butler comes to tell him that he failed his mission and he should never show his face in the city again. Eston panics and begs for another chance, blaming Zenas for the failure. The butler gives him the chance he asked for, and Eston decides to hire Zenos back so that he can use his talents again and rise to fame. Soon, Eston and the defense guy, Guile, go to the slums to find Zenas, and they decide to seek the help of the 3 demi-human tribes in doing that. They first go to the Lizardman tribe, and Eston tells Zofia that he is looking for a healer named Zenas who came to the slums 2 months ago. Zofia begins laughing uncontrollably on hearing that and remarks that Eston indeed looks dumb enough to fire someone as skilled as Zenas. The redhead gets offended and tries to draw his sword, but he backs down on realizing that he is surrounded by lizard warriors. Zofia tells him to go home because neither she nor Zenas have the time to deal with idiots like him. On gets furious at this, but a cold gaze from Zofia makes him realize the power difference between them, and he immediately backs out. He then goes to the Beastmen tribe, and Linga also mocks him for being the idiot who fired Zenas. She tells him that she doesn't want to do business with someone like him, and before Eston can even try to intimidate her, she scares him by showing off her speed. Next, he goes to the hideout of the orcs and gets a similar response from Lev, but this time he is smart enough to walk out without acting tough. Once outside, On throws a tantrum because he doesn't believe Zenas can have this type of sway in the slums. Suddenly, Gal notices Zenos walking down the street with Lily, and the two of them go to confront him. On acts tough, telling Zenas that it must be luck that he survived on his own for 2 months. Zenas replies that he doesn't have time to chat with him and goes on his way, but that frustrates Aston, who yells that he came here to let him rejoin the party. Zenas coldly refuses, telling Aston that no one will accept a job with no pay and horrible working conditions. The redhead feels insulted and tells him that he should be grateful that he gets to be a part of such a famous party. Zeno sighs and says that he will help his party out if they are so desperate, but this time he is going to charge a fair amount for healing and casting defensive spells. On is taken back by this and tells Zenas that he shouldn't make such demands because he doesn't have anywhere else to go. Just then some people from the slums come there and start chatting happily with Zenas. He gets surrounded by people soon, and Eston gets confused about what is happening. Once everyone leaves, Zenas decides to go back home, and Eston begins yelling at him, reminding him that he was the one who picked him up from the streets. Zenas has had enough of his, so he simply tells him that it is too late. He begins walking away with that, and the Pisson decides to attack him. However, before he can even reach Zenas, he gets hit by a bullet and thrown to the side of the road. Kish calls him stupid for trying to assault someone in front of the vice commander of the Royal Guards, and Zenas gets surprised to see her here. He asks what is she doing in this part of the slum, and Kish replies that she was looking for him and got lost, but it all worked out in the end. While they chat, On gets even more perplexed because Zenas has a good connection with not only the leaders of the slums but also the Royal Guard. As he gets up, Krish tells him that he is under arrest for attempted assault. Aston immediately blames it on Guile and runs away, determined to teach Zenas a lesson for ignoring him. Later, a few days after that, everyone assembles at Zeno's place, and they begin discussing how On and his lackey approached them all. The three bosses tell Zenas that they put their spies after them in case they created any trouble, but surprisingly they vanished without a trace. Lily is relieved, thinking that they gave up on chasing Zenas. But just then, Carmela appears behind her and says that they might have gone to the Underground Guild, which handles all sorts of illegal requests for the right price. Lily gets scared on hearing this, but Zenas tells her that the Underground Guild charges a large amount of money. And Carmela adds that if Aeon was so desperate about getting him back, it means that he is going through a rough patch and money is tight. Lily finally gets relieved on hearing this. But then Zofia tells her about a strange mercenary who has been said to accept any job, even without a pay if some conditions are met. Later that night, Lily finds Zenos awake, so she prepares some tea for him and pats his head to help him relax. She falls asleep quickly after that, and once Zenas tucks her in, he finds Carmela waiting for him outside. She encourages him to talk freely about his party, and Zenas tells her that he should have punched Aeon in the face when he saw him. She then starts asking how did he get so good at healing magic, and Zenas tells her that he tried reviving a dead person when he was a child but got badly beaten by his master because of it. Carmela is shocked to hear that because reanimation is a taboo, and then she begins telling him how there used to be artificial life forms 300 years ago when she was still alive. She tells him all about the fearsome golems that were used by the demon army in the war against humans. And once the story is over, Zenas decides to go to bed. Suddenly, the ground shakes and Carmela takes to the sky to see what is happening in the slums. She finds some parts of the slum on fire with a giant golem rampaging through it, and she freaks out thinking that she jinxed the slum by mentioning golems. If you like this video, please consider subscribing.